Hi, welcome to my easy algebra tutorial on equations with fractions. Because if there's one thing I know algebra students love, it's fractions. So we're going to start off with a nice, easy one-step equation. Now I've got the steps over on the left-hand side, so you see them in advance, but we're going to go through them one by one. The first step is going to be finding the least common multiple, or the LCM, of all the denominators in our equation. Now, one kind of tricky thing is there are some denominators that you can't see. I call them my invisible ones. If you look, we have 1/5, we have a denominator of 5. 1/3, we have a denominator of 3. But there's an invisible one in here, and that's going to be underneath our x, because any whole number actually has a denominator of 1. And that's super important to remember when we're doing this. So to find the least common multiple of all my denominators, I'm going to look at my values of 1, 5, and 3. The smallest multiple for all three of those values is 15. Once we've found that LCM, we're going to multiply both of our equations by that value. And it's going to do this awesome thing of getting rid of all of our fractions. I'm going to use the distributive property here. My 15 times x over 1 is going to give me 15x over 1. And 15 times negative 1/5 is going to give me negative 15 over 5. On the other side of my equal sign, 15 times 1/3 is going to give me 15 over 3. And if we did this right, all three of these fractions are now going to create awesome whole numbers. So let's start with the first one. 15x over 1 is 15x. Negative 15 over 5 is negative 3, is equal to 15 over 3, 5. Now we have an awesome, easy two-step equation. So let's go ahead and just solve that. If you follow the inverse operations to solve your two-step equation, at the end you'll get x equals 8 over 15. Now I do always recommend checking your work by plugging that 8 over 15 back into your original equation, but I'll promise you it works. The focus of this video is not the check step, but really clearing the fractions. So now we're going to test this out on another example. However, I'm going to make one small tweak to this equation to make it a little bit easier. I don't know if you've ever used this method before, but if you look at this equation, we actually have an operation in the numerator of a fraction. I want to go ahead and split that up to make it a little bit easier. Now, we can break that apart, but the important thing to know is both parts of that expression have to be over the denominator. So I like to use a little heart and draw a heart around the first part of the expression. So we'll have 3x over 12, and then a heart over the second half of the expression, plus 5 over 12. Now we have a new equation to work with. We just took that one fraction and broke it into two pieces. So getting back to our steps that we used to clear the fractions, we're going to follow step number 1, finding the least common multiple of all the denominators in our equation. Pause the video, find your LCM, and when you have it, press play to check your answer. With our denominators of 12, 12, 4, and hopefully you caught that invisible 1, our LCM is going to be 12. Now we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by our LCM. Go ahead, pause the video, try this step out, and see if we get the same equation. Hit play when you're ready to check your work. If you've multiplied both sides of your equation by the 12 correctly, your new equation should be 3x plus 5 minus 9 equals 24. Make sure you don't fall for some common mistakes. One of the common mistakes is you forget that you have to distribute the LCM to all of the terms. Another common mistake is making mistakes with your denominators. Your denominator stays the same as the original equation. Again, this video is not so much about solving these equations, it's primarily about clearing the fractions. But if you would like to pause now to try out the rest of this equation and check your answer, you can do so. Hit play when you're ready to move on. If you decided to finish out this equation, you should have the value x equals 28 over 3. Now it's time to try out your new skill of getting rid of fractions. Here are 3 fraction equations for you to try out. Go ahead and pause the video, try these 3 problems, and when you're ready to check your work, hit play. Here are your 3 answers. How did you do? One thing I definitely recommend, as any algebra teacher would, make sure that you do in fact do your check step, even if it's by storing the value in your calculator and working it through on the calculator. For example, you've got a negative over a negative potentially in this middle problem as an answer, and you want to make sure that you get the sign of your answer correct. So I just want to say thank you for watching. There are guided notes for this video with everything already printed on them, available to download at my Teachers Pay Teachers store. I've got the link below. If you have any questions about this process, please comment. I'm happy to answer them for you. Also, if you have any suggestions or if you're struggling with any algebra concepts and you'd like me to make a video about them, let me know. I can make an easy algebra video over any algebra topic ever. All right, take care and happy learning.